everyone can help keep our roads safe. Next time you're driving, try to remember to always give trucks extra space when you merge in front of them. Let's all plan to share the road safely. Learn how at www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Are you thinking of adding a pet to your family? Greece Residents Assisting Stray Pets, or GRASP, is committed to reducing the number of homeless pets by placing dogs and cats into compatible, loving, permanent homes. For more information on how you can give a homeless pet a second chance through adoption, visit graspinc.org. GRASP, striving for the day when every dog and cat will live in a loving, safe, and healthy home.
June is Men's Health Month. Abdominal aortic aneurysm, or AAA, is a relatively common condition that can lead to sudden death among older male smokers. Smoking, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and a family history of AAA can increase your risk for the condition. Men between the ages of 65 and 75 who have smoked should undergo a one-time ultrasound screening test. AAA is highly treatable when detected early. For more information, visit radiologyinfo.org.
Member-supported Jazz 90.1 proudly welcomes you to America's longest-running computer show, Sound Bytes. Call the show now at 966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll-free 800-790-0415 or soundbytes.org. Now, alongside Steve Ray and Dave Enright, here's Nick Francesco on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all the gyps in the PC. It is Saturday, the 8th day of June, Anno Domini 2024. And you lucky people, you're listening to Sound Bytes. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright. And I'm Chris Horn, and I'm full of it today.
You are full of it every day. And at 6 minutes after the hour, we are going to be bringing you news, views, things that use, and nothing to lose. Kick off your shoes. Don't get the blues. Here comes the news. First, let us first thank Chris for stepping in. Steve Ray, one step ahead of the law, somewhere in the Southwest, following the Hole in the Head gang. And we have Chris here in his place, graciously consented to come along. It wasn't the gun we held to his head that had anything to do with it.
Nope.
But we're delighted to have him here. He set us up in StreamYard, so we should be on, what are we on?
YouTube?
YouTube and, okay.
And
we're
I
on
think
YouTube.
soundbytes.org, too.
Well, yeah, we don't stream directly from Soundbites, but yes. So we're on YouTube. Excellent. And we are also, it has turned out that Jazz 90.1 fell a little short of their goal this year. Mm-hmm. So
For the fiscal year.
For the fiscal year. And so through the end of this month, we are asking everyone out there who is not a member, please become a member. And if you are a member and you have the opportunity, please give a little extra. And you do that directly at jazz901.org. Hit the big red donate now button and throw a few bucks at us, because we would like to end the year in the black.
Yeah.
If we can manage that would be great. That would be great. Thank you. So Microsoft has a big Windows 10 migration issue on its hands. Right now, the majority of Windows users are still using Windows 10. The reason why Windows 10 users aren't upgrading is that they already know what Windows 11 is capable of, and they've made the decision not to use it. If you're one of the holdouts, you can expect to be nagged with constant warnings. Microsoft is now rolling out 2 full-screen pop-up banners that remind everyone, including those with unsupported PCs, to upgrade to Windows 11. The banner on an unsupported PC warns that the PC will not receive updates and is not eligible for upgrades. Whereas if you have a supported PC, you'll be asked to upgrade to Windows 11 by scheduling the update. Microsoft's warning is clear. It's time to upgrade your PC before the end of support. End of support for Windows arrives on October 14th, 2025. This means your desktop won't receive technical support or security updates after that date. This is a tricky situation. While there will be the usual inertia and swaths of users waiting out the switch as they prefer the older platform, there will be many, many more who don't have the necessary hardware to make the change. And that's an issue for Microsoft, those users, and all the systems and platforms they access. And while this is a boon for PC makers, the prospect of this many PCs running out at the same time has other issues. The end of Windows 10 support could turn 240 million PCs into e-waste. Microsoft's Windows 11 will help support a struggling PC market as customers prepare for another refresh cycle, but the termination of Windows 10 support could prevent hundreds of millions of devices from getting second lives, leaving many liable to end up in a landfill. There is a bit of relief for Windows 10 users from the 2025 upgrade deadline, purchasing Microsoft's extended security updates, but that won't be cheap. For businesses, the first year is priced at $61. It then doubles to $122 for the second year, and then doubles again in year 3 to $244. If you enter the ESU program in year 2, you'll have to pay for year 1 as well, since ESUs are cumulative. And the same with if you enter in year 3, you still have to pay for year 1 and year 2. Consumer pricing will be different. That is to say, higher. But we don't know what so far. Again, this might be a really good time to take a look at Linux. So our poll of the week at soundbytes.org, that is Bytes with a Y, Francis would like us to remind you, is Microsoft aggressively warns of Windows 10 end of life. Your choices are, you'll pry 10 for my cold dead hands, I'll switch when I have to, I've already switched, my computer won't run 11, and so, Linux, you say. So far we have 24 votes, and so, Linux, you say, is half of them. So...
Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, I've just got one computer.
You'll have more to say. If you have more to say, give us a call. 58. Sorry, you can vote at the polls at soundbytes.org. That's Bytes with a Y. Francis would like us to remind you. And, of course, you can give us a call on that or anything. 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free 800-790-0415.
And that porks me up because literally I just got that. The one computer, a year ago.
Yeah.
And it clearly, when the update came out for 11, it said, sorry, this machine does not meet it and you can't have 11. I thought, okay, I don't want it anyways.
Right.
Now they're going to punish me more, tell me I got to go out and buy another computer?
Yes. Yes. I'm sorry, if you're not rich enough to buy a new computer every 6 months, Microsoft doesn't need you as a customer.
Time to run Linux. Microsoft.
Yeah, I know you do.
I think the industry is always waiting to see if this is the moment that Microsoft says that now Windows is going to be a subscription.
Well, they're already saying 11's going to have the ads.
Right. Well, here's the thing.
Sure.
Microsoft has been telling their
stockholders
for 6 years now
Yeah.
that they are going to a subscription service. They have been and you do not lie to the stockholders. You do not.
Right. But you hand wave and say, oh, there's, Office 365.
Right, we
and
can't do it
Microsoft
yet.
365.
Right.
There's all these layers of subscription.
But they've been saying Microsoft Windows itself will go to a subscription service at some point in the future. And this is just, you're absolutely right. This is them slowly creeping up on it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing.
So I mean, it hurts. It's the frog in the boiling water.
Yeah. So I think we have a responsibility to everybody to say that even if Microsoft says that you can't upgrade to Windows 11, well, that's not really true.
Right.
You can disable the checks that make your computer, all those hundreds of millions, how many computers it was?
240 million.
Right, that are ineligible. You can disable those checks and upgrade to Windows 11 and not be left behind by security updates. Now, it's probably not super user-friendly on how you do that.
No, it
But
really
it's
is.
also going to be, but it's also
deadline-
going to be more demand on the system. And if you don't have a system that's up for 11, whereas
right.
10 was working fine for you, thank you very much for the test that you were doing.
Yeah.
Now you try to do 11 just to please Microsoft, and you got a machine that you just as soon throw out the darn window.
Well, and that's part of the problem. You may well be able to upgrade, but response time can be measured with a calendar.
Yeah.
So it remains a real problem. And you have a choice.
Yeah.
You can move to a Mac, or you can move to Linux, or you can continue running something that A, is not being supported, B, is not being updated, and C, is the number one target for viruses.
Yeah, or a Chromebook. I mean, or something
or you
like
can move to a
Chromebook.
Exactly right.
So I think Microsoft's play is going to be, as the deadline looms, they'll say you can continue to use your Windows 10 computer, but what we're going to do is lift all of your data into a virtual desktop that you pay a subscription for every month. And now that's your safe place to do your compute.
Yeah,
to do your work.
make the computer actually a dumb terminal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what they want companies to do.
Right.
And if they can make that easy for companies, then maybe they can make it easy for consumers too.
Well, and the idea there is, of course, now they only have to update one copy of Windows, really.
yeah,
The one on
right.
the server.
All of that update stuff could be potentially be out of your hands.
Right, and it would be up to them. They could update it every night.
I mean,
Not that they would, but they
Yeah.
could. But the problem is, you now must have an internet connection. Mm-hmm. Right now, if my internet
Yeah.
connection goes down, I can still do stuff.
Yep.
I can write. I can play certain games. I can do all kinds of things on my computer without an internet connection. That will not be true if your computer is in the cloud.
yeah.
But as you were stating, though, before, which is going back a little bit, the bottom line is, like you said, the stockholders.
Yep.
If they're not making money for the stockholders are going to bail.
Well, it's not if they're not making money. They're not making more money every year.
And the problem that Microsoft's running into is, what more features can you put into Windows 11?
Right.
Hello, it's, rearrange some icons and put stuff here or do that. For the most part, it is very mundane, from even going back to Windows, say 7, which was a rock solid one. Between 7 and 11, granted, there's different screens and the way you do stuff and all that, but it's still, the underlining part is Windows, and it's the same,
It looks the same to the
but
user,
just a little faster.
But Microsoft is going to point out that there's a huge stack of changes that add all kinds of security, and it's based on the latest generations of hardware, and that's why all these
Right.
computers are going to be orphaned.
Right. That's exactly right.
Like they have a legitimate need, a reason to do this.
Right.
It just sucks for everybody left behind.
Well, a semi-legitimate reason. I mean, 99.9% of the changes in Windows 11 could have simply been rolled into 10.
Yep.
They didn't have to. They didn't have to orphan 10
Yeah.
to add those features into something.
But
Well,
you
that-
label
that-
11, and
maybe.
now they can justify charging more.
Right.
But-
Well, and that's just it. Now the thing is, if they make it a subscription,
Yeah.
you can boil that frog by simply saying, well, every year or every 2 years it's going to be another $1.
Mm-hmm.
We're raising the monthly price, the yearly price. Why
Yep.
not?
Yeah.
By $1, because when you've got 1 billion users,
Yeah.
that's $1 billion a year,
And the stockholders are happy.
and the stockholders are happy, and people. It's a minor enough change that most people won't have a problem with it.
It's a double-edged sword, though, really, that
Yep.
they're playing with, because they got to keep the users happy and the stockholders happy. So it cuts both ways.
Right. Well, they have to keep the stockholders happy, and the way they do it so far is to keep the users happy. But yeah, it's a that's why Macintoshes are not in a dissimilar spot. They also are a publicly traded company, and therefore are beholden to the stockholders, and therefore need to keep having new elements and new this and new that. Whereas Linux, your entire existence is just, well, we wanted to do this, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Linux is made to adapt to whatever hardware you've got.
Right.
But by Microsoft doing this, they're pushing more and more folks to look at Linux. As we've been saying for the past few months, if you've got an old computer sitting over there in the corner, it's not the most powerful horse in the barn, pull it out, hook it up to a monitor, and try different versions of Linux.
Right. Go
And
ahead.
see
as
which
it's-
one you like, because
Yeah.
they look either like, you can set them up to look like Windows, you can make them look like a Mac, or you can have different flavors that, are Linux.
Right. Various different flavors. The other thing is, as Chris said, you can get a Chromebook. The reality is that 90% of people could live quite happily on a Chromebook.
Yeah.
And now you've got a computer that costs you a few $100s as opposed to many hundreds of dollars, if not 1,000 and more.
Well, look at the school systems. For the most part, a lot of them have gone to the Chromebooks.
Right.
Why? Because, one, they can put them in like a tough book. So the kids, if they're, and kids are going to be kids, they're going to drop them.
Well, kids never lose their homework then, right?
Yeah.
It's in the cloud
Right.
100% of the time.
But for maintenance-wise, at the end of the school year, you can just wipe them all,
you can
populate them.
You can leave them at home with the kids and wipe it at the kid's house.
Yep.
So that
Yep.
it comes up just refreshed and ready to go.
And parents can get notes from the teachers and everything else, and the kids can't say, "Oh, I forgot it at school." No, it's right there on the tablet, and the security is so great on it too.
Yeah.
They have full control.
So that's part of Microsoft's problem. They've always had Apple as a rival, but Apple has many of the same problems that Microsoft has. Linux doesn't have most of those problems, and Chrome doesn't have most of those problems, and those two are growing. So there's a real problem at Microsoft, which says, okay, we know how to handle our major rival because they have many of our same problems. How do we handle Chromebooks, and how do we handle Linux? And they don't really have an answer. They started with, the Windows subsystem for Linux. We'll just absorb Linux.
Yes.
And we'll use it, and people will come to us if they want Linux. That didn't happen.
In some cases, I mean, that's a strategy.
It is a strategy.
For kinds of development and stuff, it totally works.
For developers, it works.
Yeah.
But developers are not 90% of the population.
What?
I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. I did not mean to. Thank God you were sitting. For the average person, they are not going to use a Linux subsystem for Windows. If they're going to move off Windows.
Or care.
Right. If they're going to move off Windows, they're either going to go to a Mac or a Chromebook or Linux.
Yeah.
They're just going to go. They're not going to add. They're not going to, do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
They're going to go. And Chromebooks are the main competitor because they are so much more inexpensive and yet still do so much.
That's what we've told people on this show so many times. Because countless times we've said, "What are you going to do with it?" Well, I want to surf the internet.
Yeah.
I want to check my mail and maybe do this or do that. Well, there's apps that you can put on a Chromebook
It
and
does
do
all of
all
those
that.
things.
And but I want to do Word and spreadsheets. Okay, Google Docs. It's there. It's up on the cloud. Doesn't matter where you are. You've got access to it. And by the way, it's free.
I have a friend who does video editing and audio editing for a living on a Chromebook.
Really?
And and it all works. It all works. Some of the online now he pays for the service.
Right.
So he goes
right.
through.
He pays for like whatever software, but like the web-based version of
Right.
that. 'Cause
Mm-hmm.
everything's converging on the web-based version is the first version.
Right.
And then maybe there's also a
It used to
separate app.
be. It used to be phone first. Right.
Right.
The
That was
internet.
the lesson.
The internet was originally computer first, computer screen first. Then it was phone first. Now it's web first. Mm-hmm. If it works on the web, you win.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Right, and that's what he does. He does everything. He does video editing, audio editing, all on his Chromebook, and that's all he needs. And I've said this many times. I have a very large, very well set up desktop at home. I have allegedly, and I have my laptop that I bring here. Okay, so it's a it's a gateway. My own machine is a cow gateway cow.
It's the best Pentium Pro you've ever seen.
Oh, it's a good one.
Sorry, that's
It's a
throwback.
486. It's and I've got a laptop here. But when I travel, when I go anywhere, even just out of my house, if I'm going to take a computer, I take a Chromebook. I can do everything I need to do on a daily basis.
That was the number you said earlier. 90% of the people could be totally happy using a Chromebook, but I think it's better than that. I think let's say 95, 99% of what people do on computers most of the time
Right.
Nowadays,
is just
yes.
the web. And it would
Right.
work on a Chromebook. And by the way, Chromebooks eventually expire, but Linux doesn't.
Right.
And
Linux
you get
doesn't.
all the benefits of the Chromebook on a Linux
Linux
machine.
now, Chromebooks now have an 8-year life, but that's still just 8 years,
Yeah,
which seems a lot to me at my age, but still.
it goes quick.
It still goes by quite fast. But you know, if you've got a Linux machine, again, here's the other thing: you can put Linux on an old computer and run it as if it were a Chromebook.
Or a brand new computer if you just don't want viruses.
Right. I've said this before too. I used to do computers for Doctors Without Borders, send them to Tanzania and all those places, which I haven't done since COVID hit. I don't know what's going on with that, but whatever. But the point is, I could take an old machine that ran Windows so slowly it was painful, put Linux on it, and had a good machine.
Yeah.
A very usable, very happily usable machine.
I really enjoy that experience, by the way, is, taking something that is otherwise pretty useless for the purpose that it was intended, and then refurbishing it and putting the appropriate flavor version of Linux on there that is going to run great.
Yep. Everything from Puppy Linux
Yeah.
all the way up to Arch, or
I've heard Arch Linux is the one I use.
I've heard that myself.
Right. I can't say it's the best one.
But you can say that you use
I
it.
can say that I use it.
Yeah. And so you can put any flavor on it that you want. Again, if it's a very, very old machine, something like Puppy Linux, which requires lower resources.
Yeah. Very,
Right.
very, very low.
Right. And it works really, really well. And you'll find that, again, there are a lot of people who are scared of the command line. You don't need the command line.
For Linux, you don't have to, if you don't want to, you don't ever have to
Ever.
use the command line.
Right.
And it didn't used to be that way.
No.
It used to be like
didn't. I use the command line
DIY
mostly.
kind of operating system.
Right.
Like you had to be ready to roll your sleeves up.
Oh, it's Tuesday. I'd better
Yeah.
put together a new kernel.
Which is why I won't recommend Arch, because Arch
Right.
is always
Right. But the point is, you can jump in at any level. Right.
Yeah.
If you're a white bearded old guru, then Arch is for you. And if you've never seen Linux before, you can do KDE. You can do any flavor of Ubuntu, any flavor of Fedora. And it works great. And you can get things that look exactly like Windows, or look exactly like a Mac, or roll your own flavors. I've got a version of XFCE here that looks like nothing I've ever seen before.
So you can run an operating system that is just like a Chromebook, right? You can do your own Chromebook. We should look up what that's called.
Chrome OS Flex.
That's right. Flex is the thing.
Chrome OS, you can put that on an old machine too, and turn it into a Chromebook. There are a lot of alternatives to Windows, and this is Microsoft's problem. How do we get people to go to 11 when there are so many alternatives, and Chrome OS Flex and every flavor of Linux is free?
Yeah. But I mean, these are not problems that corporations care about at
Right.
all. Not really. Not in any volume. There's one-offs of such and such company, they're switching to Linux desktops. Maybe that'll be great for them, but it is unusual.
Right. And that's strictly out of fear. When I was at
I think that from what I've heard, the companies doing that this year are European, and it's the GDPR part of it is easier to deal with than the Windows 11 part of it. So the Microsoft strategy for security for a lot of this stuff is pretty scary, because it involves making sure that all of your data is in the cloud so that they can scan it. And maybe that means they can do great AI stuff, so that the search for your own documents that are all in the cloud is really interesting, really valuable, and that might be great, but it might also be super hostile to some companies that have legal restrictions on where their data is.
Right. No,
It doesn't
absolutely.
matter what controls they have on the cloud. If the rule is the data never leaves the box that our company works in, there's a lot of services you just can't use.
Right. Right. And yet you can simulate many of those services with Linux.
Locally.
A lot of cases. Looks like we're done with this half hour. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with Dave Enright, Chris Horn, me, Nick Francesco, and you. It's 29 minutes after the hour. You're listening to the longest running computer show in the known universe. Give us a call, 585-966-JAZZ. It's 966-5299. Toll free 800-790-0415. We'll see you on the other side with a whole lot more sound bites right here on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
upper 50s. Tomorrow brings intervals of clouds and sun with a few more showers and a thundery downpour.
And currently right now we've got partly cloudy skies, 70 degrees out at the airport, and 73 here at member-supported Jazz 90.1.
This is Jeff Harris. Please join me every Sunday, 5 to 7 p.m. for Classic Blues, right here on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
I don't know who I am. I might be Chris Horn.
We'll pretend for now, at least, that you're Chris Horn. And at 35 minutes after the hour, we are Soundbites. We've been talking about the choices, and there are a lot of them nowadays. I mean, a lot of them. You've not just got Windows versus Mac. You've also got 100 different flavors of Chromebook. You've got Chrome OS Flex that can run on dang near anything with a processor.
Yep.
And you've got 700 versions of Linux that you can run. We're spoiled for choice these days.
And, I mean, you also have all of the old operating systems that people, in some cases, are still running.
Right.
And just, keeping it away from the internet. And they're totally fine.
Yep. All right, do we have someone on the line? Is that what's happening? We have Rich from Irondequoit on the line. Hi, Rich, what's up?
Hello, guys. Good weekend. Just calling I like your Linux conversations and stuff. The only question I have is there a Linux flavor that I could get that doesn't have to do with the command lines all the time and sudo this and enter that? And
absolutely.
And which ones are those?
Any of them these
potentially
days.
Any of them that are popular enough to be searchable, like Ubuntu or
Right.
Debian or Fedora. All of those, you can stay away from the command line completely. And if the way for you to get a feeling and whether you're comfortable using them or not, in my opinion, is if you go to their website and look at their instructions on how to install it. If you don't see a single command line to type to do that, you're in good shape, because once you've got the Linux installed and you've got your front end, the GUI picked out that you want to use, there isn't really much fiddling you've got to do.
You can also search for the YouTube videos out there.
Oh, yeah.
Are unbelievable, and showing you how to install it, set it up, and what you have to do.
Almost all of them. Sorry, go ahead.
I have been looking at the mint flavored ones, if
Yeah.
you will.
Yeah, Mint
And
is great.
I didn't know if those were that command line type stuff.
No, you never. These days, you never have to use the command line for Linux. You can still, and us old guys who've been using Linux for 30 years still use it simply because we had to back in the day,
Yeah.
and we remember how to. But you do not. You can go the entire rest of your life and never touch a command line. Certainly, there are people like me who will say, "Oh, it's easier at the command line," because we remember all the commands and know how to run them. And certainly, there are things that I personally find faster to do at the command line rather than finding it in the menus, because I know the command line
Yeah.
better than I know the menus.
That's frequency of use, though.
But that's
right?
frequency of use, and
Yeah.
you can run Mint, and you can run dang near any Linux these days without ever in your life going to a command line.
I don't think I know anybody that has gone to Linux Mint and regretted it and said,
Right.
"Oh no, I need to switch to a different Linux." I think Mint has been great for 100% of the people I know that use it.
Now, the only other thing on that other side is that we'll say a program that I'm going to download to use would have to accept that operating system, if you will.
Right.
Yeah, and so every flavor of Linux has like an app store kind of experience to pick things to install, and there's tons and tons and tons of stuff.
Thousands and
Yeah.
thousands.
So to download a document writer or something like that, just would have to find it in that kind of app store thing.
I
No,
think
it's built in.
Yeah, I think the installer is probably going to say, "Oh, you probably want LibreOffice or
Yeah,
OpenOffice, and you're just going to
Their
start with that
standard
ready
packages,
to go."
yeah. It's in there.
Yeah, the reality is that you can absolutely add pretty much anything you want. If you're looking for something that's an alternative to a Windows or Mac program, you can go to alternative2.net.
Yeah, that's a good website.
And you can search for all kinds of things. And you'll find that it's likely that you will have some alternative. So, for example, you want a word processor. Well, almost every version of Linux comes with OpenOffice, or LibreOffice, now the version they're mostly using, and a dozen other flavors of word processing programs are available, from the very lightweight ones to very heavy ones. And you can just add whatever you need.
I think a good example would be like if you've been using Adobe Illustrator, the open source alternative that's current and popular and works well is called Inkscape, and it's not part of LibreOffice or any other suite. It's an app all by itself.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe I should dive into this and give it a shot.
Go
Most
for
of
it.
them have
I
an
think you
option
should.
to dual boot. So
Right. The important thing is you can do a lot. Almost all of these have a live version.
Right.
Right. So you download it, you put it on a thumb drive, and then you boot with that thumb drive, and it will run from the thumb drive and never touch your real computer.
Right. That's
Now,
the way to go.
I've done that with Chrome Plex.
Right. And this works exactly the same way. Now, the thing people have to remember is that the reason it fits on a thumb drive is it's compressed.
Right.
So when you're running it from the thumb drive, it's slow because almost everything has to be decompressed before it'll run on your computer.
Yeah.
But that's only because it's running from the thumb drive. So as long as you understand that, things are going to take a lot longer to boot up, things are taking a lot longer to run, that's because it's compressed on the thumb drive, not because Linux is slow.
I think I might give it a shot.
I think you should.
Sounds like a good this week project.
Let us know how it turned
There you
out.
go.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks. And I'm just in the process of putting a link in a moment. Hold on.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
that's the
there
thing
it
with
is.
all the flavors of Linux now is the installer image is a fully working version of that Linux that you can boot into and look at. And if you just want to get a sense of, do I like this interface, or should I try Plasma instead of GNOME?
Right.
You can do that. You can try them out.
Yeah, it's really quite amazing these days. The different operating systems you can get and the different versions of those operating systems. So if you're interested in not Windows, which is really what we're talking about, anything but Windows, I guess ABW. The easiest thing to do is to grab Chrome OS Flex or a version of Linux and put it on a thumb drive and run it as a live CD. They used to call them live CDs, but live thumb drive, and then you can test it without ever installing it, without ever making any change to your system at all, and decide whether or not you like it and it's for you. Again, all you have to do is remember that it is going to be a little slower.
Yeah.
Because it's
Thumb drives are a lot
compact.
slower than your hard drive.
Right, and that's the other thing. Thumb drives in regular are just slower. So, once you understand that part, you're good to go. All right, back to the phones. Our next caller is Fred from Rochester, New York. Hi, Fred. What's up?
Hey, everybody. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First and foremost, everybody get online and donate now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like what you guys. The only, I don't want to say complaint, a possible modification you could suggest is that if since I'm a member, I get a member ID, and I plug that in with a password maybe, and never have to put in all that other information again.
Yep, that's true. That's true. If you've got them, if you're already a member and you're, for example, updating your donation
Membership number.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't see that option. But at any rate, I donated. It took me the last half hour to do so, but
Thank you for your perseverance.
Thank you, Fred.
I got through all of it, and when I go off the page, I'm working from the app. When I go off the app to double check my expiration date on my card, because I don't have it memorized. I don't have the card number memorized either, but I thought to copy that. And I said, oh, what was that number again? So it goes back to the home screen and locks up there. Excuse me.
Oh, interesting.
So I have to shut down the app, force it to close, reopen the app, and then it comes back, and then I put everything all in again. So that wasn't fun.
I understand
on
that.
Your phone?
On my phone, yeah.
Normally, you should be able to switch apps. What kind of phone do you have?
I can switch apps on every other app. It's an Android. It's an Android device. It's a Samsung Galaxy A54 5G. And I can do that on every other app, but it didn't.
I mean, that's got to be a third-party app that 90.1 brands as their thing.
American Express. So
yeah,
then I did it.
All right, we'll talk to them about those things. Some of that is fixable.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that. That's why I kept going and got it done.
Appreciate that, Fred.
It took me a lot less time was to put Linux on 3 devices. So the caller that we talked about Linux, this is my first Linux experience. I've been using home PCs since Windows 95.
Right.
No, excuse me, I take that back, 3.1.
Wow.
So, I mean, before that, I did stuff on, company computers that were, Kodak had their own system.
Cool.
They had an internet-like that you could communicate between people in the company all over the world. Before we got the home user stuff so ubiquitous. But at any rate, when I googled what's the newest Linux, Ubuntu 24.04 came up.
Right.
Yep.
So I says, okay, let me give that a shot. And it took me a minute to figure out how to get it onto a thumb drive because.
Yeah, that's a weird thing if you haven't done it before.
It was kind of a not 100%. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't 100%
intuitive.
Right.
Intuitive.
Yeah.
Putting it on a flash drive. So anyway, once I got that done, I installed it on 3 different machines. So I have a refurbished. All 3 of them are refurbished. One of the most difficult things to do is one of the laptops that had Windows 11 would not allow me to delete Windows 11 until I released something in the Windows environment.
Yep.
So I had to do a complete Windows 11 not install, but registration.
Right.
Just to go in and delete Windows 11.
Yep.
Yeah.
Microsoft does not want you using anything but Windows 11.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The other 2 machines, it was a breeze that just pushed the button and it went.
Yep.
I was like, whoa, okay, that was easy. So a desktop, a HP refurbished desktop, 2 Dell laptops. One I gave to my daughter. My daughter was quite skeptical. I first convinced her to use a Chromebook from your advice, and she liked doing that. But sometimes you can't do it online, or you can do it offline, but then you got to get it back online to update. So few things that are not I don't want to say quite as convenient as having it totally on the machine. So she finally, because I gave her the laptop, decided to start doing more and more stuff with it. And Ubuntu 24.04 comes with almost everything that you'd ever want to need.
Yep.
And 10 versions of it if you really want to install everything.
And their repository is
huge. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's Linux for you.
Most of that stuff in there, I don't even know what to do with.
Yeah.
I go, oh my God, what do I do? There's a lot. There is a lot.
Yeah.
So and it's all easy. Push the button and wait for it to install, and you're done.
Yep. And you know what? The reality is you don't need most of it today, but if you need something tomorrow, there it is.
Yeah. So the LibreOffice does nearly everything that I'd want to do.
Right.
There's a couple things I do for work that I'm still trying to find a workaround, but that's because those things that they chose to do at work are not Linux friendly.
Yep.
Right. There are some programs that are Windows only. Most of them are specialized to a business.
Yep, that's what we got.
And there's not much you can do about that.
Exactly. So I have one machine that's got the Windows on it. I haven't turned it on in a week and a half, but
yeah, and I mean, a lot of times there is a workaround for that weird business thing. It's just not obvious what it is.
Right.
Well, it's not. Yeah, I'm still searching for a good. I do backtrack a little bit. I do CNC programming for machine shop.
Yep.
Milling machines, lathes, and I haven't found an easy CNC program editor. I mean, I can do all of that editing in a notepad, but I had a excuse me, I still have a software called Discriminator CNC Editor. It was back when I got it, it was $65. It's now available free, but it only is on Windows.
And I bet it'll run on Wine.
It may. I haven't checked that out. Somebody had suggested that, but but it gives me colors for all the different G code, M code stuff that I need to pay attention to. It gives me different colors for numbers versus letters, like O or 0.
Right.
Because I'm a little, I guess, brain dead. But I look at that and I don't see it. It doesn't register. Oh, and you tell you to go to run it, and it says a G0 is a rapid move, and a GO is a.
Oh, you know what?
That's a line.
That's a font problem too, right? Like your CNC programmer is picking a font that makes those changes or those differences clear.
Right.
But depending on whatever your text editor is or screen you're looking at, if you change the font to a programmer's font, and a lot of the mono-spaced ones do the right thing.
You'll get a dot in the 0.
They'll very clearly make the 0 look different from the O, and all of the, a number 1 and a lowercase l, all of those other things kind of wash out.
Yeah, exactly. And that, like you said, that is a little tweaking that has to be done. And it wouldn't help if I just paid attention a little bit better.
Right.
Let's not take it too far.
Yeah, the other editor gives me different colors for those, so I not only see a different font, I see a different color. So,
which is nice.
At any rate, those are minor things for the user that wants to use a Windows-like. And I know nothing about all the flavors. I actually, when I looked at them, my brain went numb. And I picked what's the newest, and that was Ubuntu 24.04. And it works fine. It installs easy. I don't ever have to use the terminal. I experimented with some terminal installs. I think the terminal install of some of the apps may be a little faster if I'm in a hurry.
Right.
But the app center that's built into the system has everything, and you push got snap packages and the Debian packages that you can choose from. You push the button, you walk away, and you come back, and it's done.
Yep, it's amazing.
It is amazing. Especially since I have not done any. I have not done any kind of computer programming other than CNC work for decades. I did some Delphi Developer is a tool to create. I can create a database.
Yep.
And I can have all the plates, the drop down menus, and everything like Microsoft Access.
Right.
I can create those to my own liking. I've done some Microsoft Access using that for a database, but I haven't done any kind of programming, anything outside of those for decades. And to put in LibreOffice came with the install. It was already, because I thought that would be something I have to do.
Yep.
It's already there. There is so I've got MoneyDance, I've got NPass, I've got the browser. All of that is just was easy, absolutely easy. So for the caller that called that was worried about how difficult it might be, like I said, I did 3 machines in one evening.
Yeah.
And I don't have any experience.
Well, I think something to be said for Ubuntu specifically is if you have some weird application software dependency or even like a weird hardware dependency, if it is supported in Linux, it is supported in Ubuntu.
Absolutely.
Because that is really the thing that companies support first, and then Red Hat.
Yep.
Okay.
And if it's supported by Ubuntu, it's almost certainly supported by Debian, because Ubuntu is an old school variant of
Right.
Debian, just like Linux Mint. Mint is the same kind of thing.
Right. So yeah, you're doing really great. Knowing that, I mean, Fred, I've been following your journey from what the heck is Linux.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're moving right along.
Yeah, and I just wanted to reassure the other caller that it's not hard at all. You can buy an inexpensive refurbished machine. The only thing that may be an issue with a refurbished laptop is maybe battery life. But for the price I paid, I can donate it. You know what I figured is if I'll buy these things, and then if I flub it up, I'll send it to Nick.
There you go. Thanks.
Have a ball.
You too.
Thank you.
Also,
take care now.
you too. Also, for those of you who are interested in a few things about Linux, I've started a page on my website. I'll post a link during the break about the stuff I'm talking about on Linux. Look, this is the way I started the Security Tango. People ask the same question 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah.
I put up a page about it. And now it's a whole website, and I realize the rabbit hole I'm dropping down with this. But I'm doing the same thing here. So I've talked about how can you tell what packages you've got installed, making a file executable. And by the way, this goes back to doing it on the command line versus doing it with the front end.
Yep.
I show you how to do both. One takes a little longer because you're going through a bunch of menus. The other one is quick because you just type it, but you can do it either way. You don't have to go to the command line. And the third one is application packaging formats, how to install, how to remove, how to see what's installed, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll publish a little thing about that, and as time goes on, I'll be adding more and more things to that, and we'll go from there. All right, that music tells us that the first hour of this show is now in the history books.
We're sorry.
And we're sorry, it's dull, it's history, it's dull. And we're done for the first hour, but do not despair. There's a whole nother hour of the longest running computer show in the known universe coming your way. That's a whole nother hour of Dave Enright, a whole nother hour, of Chris Horn, a whole nother hour of me, Nick Francesco, and a whole nother hour of your calls. And the way you join in, wow, it's easy. Just make us call 585-966-JAZZ. It's 966-5299, toll free 800-790-0415. And as Fred said, now is the day to make a pledge or up your pledge, because we are a little short and we could use your help to make our goal for the year. And we'd really like to do that. But we'll see you in just a couple of minutes.
back to this edition of Sound Bites. I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm Chris Horn.
And Nick had to step out for a minute. Excuse me. He will be back shortly. But meanwhile, we've got Walter from Greece on the line. Go ahead, Walter.
Hello there to everybody. I want to say first off that I am a committed Linux user.
Okay.
I have in my hands my Ubuntu 5.04 CD, as well as my book of Marcel Gagne, Moving to Linux, and that's going back again to about 2004. So
Nice.
I've been using it a long time. But I am calling it as the Judas of Linux.
There's always got to be one.
Well, no, I mean...
No, it's okay. From our show, we like to pick on people.
Yeah, well, the reason I'm coming along is I think you're not thinking beyond the box, honestly. When I'm coming out, I have several points to bring up. Like, number one, people have their old software. They love to play. I want to keep playing my Tiger Woods golf or my EA Sports soccer. Mm-hmm. And you say, okay, yeah, put on Wine. Well, if it doesn't work on Wine, then what are they going to do? You know, they spent the big bucks for the software, so it's dead. You know, it's gone. Next, upgrading. A lot of these things you're going to have to upgrade 3 to 5 years. Right now, Windows is coming along saying, okay, from Windows 10 to Windows 11, no charge. Am I correct?
As far as we know right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the case.
Right. Okay. Show me. The only one that I know of that allows you to do some upgrading is Ubuntu. Because all the other ones, though, you're going to have to go ahead and do a fresh install every 3 to 5 years, depending upon what it is. And people won't like that.
That hasn't been my experience. I think I've had pretty clean upgrade experiences on most of the Linux distributions I've used.
Yeah, I don't know of one that requires you to do a fresh install.
Yeah, no.
Now, what they do sometimes is that the upgrade to the next major version
That's what I'm talking about.
is a command line thing.
I'm using MX, and they say, okay, you can move up from MX19 to 21. I mean, you're going through about 20 lines of commands to get that.
Yeah.
And you're looking in the box of the audience that you have. I'm talking about everyday users.
Well, I run Ubuntu.
Yeah.
And I get a pop-up that says you have
Updates.
an upgrade version coming. Do you want to install it?
Right.
And I just click yes.
That's right. That's Ubuntu. MX has gone ahead and made a little easier. You can get a list of the installs that you've done beyond what goes in the package, and it'll tell you, and it'll try to do it, but you still have to get the brand new DVD, put on, even on your install, thumb drive. You still have to do all that. You have to go ahead and follow what it's going to do.
That's NX Linux?
Yeah, MX Linux, and I could say the same thing about most any other Linux that's out there. I haven't seen anything in Slackware. I haven't seen anything in Manjaro. I haven't seen anything like that where you go ahead and get it. It's just Ubuntu.
Well,
and then I'm going to say this. You pray that it will happen, because I have used Ubuntu, and twice the damn thing fails. It's a mess.
Well, how long ago did you do that?
How long ago? That would have been about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, things have changed significantly in the last 3 years. But yes, I understand what you're saying.
Right.
But the reality is that depending on which Linux you pick,
right,
you never ever have to go to a command line, and you never ever have to do any more downloading. Well, any more fiddling around with thumb drives. Depending on which one you get, and then that goes back to what we were saying before. If you're a Manjaro user, an Arch user, you want to be fiddling around in there every day, and so it doesn't matter.
I am choosing to run with scissors.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But if you're the sort of person who just wants to install it and have it say, you need to do this, you need to do that, click here, then Puppy Linux or any version of Ubuntu
I think
should do for you. Again, you get to pick your level of experience with Linux.
Right.
And you're right, there are some that you do have to, that are very high level.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the upgrade experience for a second, because I think what we're seeing more of with Fedora and things like CentOS is a rolling update release where there's never a major upgrade. It's just it's just being upgraded all the time.
Yeah, it's just constant.
That's I want to say it's CentOS Stream is their flavor. That's the rolling upgrade, and I think Fedora does that by default, and certainly everything Arch is bleeding edge.
Right.
But there's other ones like that too, where there isn't the idea of a major upgrade.
Right, I have looked at those. I've tried some of those, and PC Linux OS says, don't you dare put anything else than what we have in our repositories because you will likely break the system. So you are trapped into their repository.
Well, and that's why we don't recommend PC Linux.
I know.
Because we don't want you to have those kind of constraints.
Right, and also I have looked at, as you said, CentOS, whatever else. I think I said, you need to be a somewhat experienced Linux user because it has its other issues that come along with it. You have to be experienced. That's what I've read. So, yes, I'm going to go along and say, yes, to folks, you need to go ahead and turn to two places that I look to all the times, and that is both Distro C, so you can go on your Windows box right now with Distro SEA and play with them right there, and you get to choose all the Ubuntus that you want, whether you want it Mate or with the GNOME, or you're going to go KDE version, or you can go ahead and try MX, or you can try CentOS. Then the other part to go with it is Distro Watch, because my feeling about that is that at least they tell you, here are the major distributions that are out there, and then you can use their search and then find the different varieties that are there, and then go ahead back to Distro C and try it that way. So you can do it. I mean, because I'm telling you what people have come back to me about why they don't want to switch. Because, again, old software, I've invested this, it works, and Windows is going to upgrade me, no problem. Now, can I make one request, though?
Of course.
See, I don't have any Windows machines. We've given it a long time. We've given up a long time ago. But years ago, I had run Q4 OS. And Q4 OS has an EXE that you load in on your Windows machine, and it will then run Linux. Where am I going with this? Because I haven't tried it, but I see this. I'm wondering if you can go ahead, keep your Windows machine, use it offline like Dave has done with his, but then when you want to go ahead and do things with LibreOffice, etc., put the machine back online, boot into Q4 OS, and then can go on with using Linux because it's Debian. I would love it if one of the guys, maybe Nick has it or somebody would try it on a Windows machine, put that EXE in there, and see if it runs, and will you be able to go offline, take the Windows offline and run it? Will it? The point of getting it is I don't want anybody to come and contaminate the Windows machine. Do you understand what I'm getting at?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. Well, almost any of the live versions of Linux that you can download and put on a thumb drive will do the same thing. You can boot it and not ever touch your hard drive.
Yeah, but if you want to go ahead and make documents, etc., you've got to store it somewhere, correct?
Yeah, right. Like you wouldn't really want to use a thumb drive.
Right, that's what I'm getting at. Q4 OS has an EXE that loads onto your machine.
Yeah.
It's not a dual boot per se itself, but it's there to be used.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you take the machine offline, is it running in Windows so that if you were to go offline, it kills, of course it would kill Q4 OS. But I'm wondering, would there be any connection while you're running Q4 OS into the Windows operating system that you'd have to worry about somebody hacking into it?
I'm looking at the documentation for Q4 OS, and if it comes down as an executable, I'm feeling like this is probably a packaged version of QEMU, and that's why it starts with a Q.
Mm-hmm.
and it's giving you this dual desktop. It's really just another application.
Okay.
It's a virtual machine, and Windows is still there. It's still running the whole time behind the scenes.
Okay,
Right.
so
That would be my guess.
okay, because like I say, I have no Windows machine. I can't experiment with it. I saw it existed. I used Q4OS because it still was a 32-bit.
Yeah. See,
operating
that
system.
seems even more like a QEMU thing, because that QEMU can run any architecture, kind of.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, but that's my point. As I said, I use it. I'm just presenting to you what people have told me when I tried to convince them toward Linux, and they still say no. It's not for me.
Yeah. I mean, we're not trying to strong arm anybody into doing this.
Right.
Microsoft is doing it for us.
Right. We're not saying you must, and that's fine. We don't.
Right. If
Trying
you
to
want
give
an alternative,
alternatives.
and you
Honestly,
don't want
we
to
don't
spend
care.
any money,
Use what you want.
Yeah, well, but it's almost the same way as U.S. auto manufacturers. Show me anybody in the U.S. Of Ford, GM, Stellantis making sedans. They're just about all SUVs.
Right.
There may be, and that's what's we're forced into. Personally, I would love to have a nice sedan of a certain size, but no, I got to drive around an SUV. No, and that's what Microsoft is doing. Is saying, hey, we're not making any more. This is the way it's going to be. We're not making any more sedans. You're just going to have to go to our SUV. Period, and that's Windows 11.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Demands of the ecosystem require us to orphan Windows 10. Sorry, users.
Right. But I'm one of those people. I want a sedan. Sorry. Well, I got to go ahead and buy a Subaru. Okay. Well, that's all I just wanted to do. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking to make sure I got stuff added
Yeah,
correctly
I
to the.
I wanted to respond to the idea that if you switch off of Windows, you're potentially orphaning yourself for I love these applications. I'm not going to be able to use them anymore. Of course, there's alternatives, and we'll talk about that all the time. But there's also virtualization technology, or the Wine emulator, which is not really an emulator.
Right. Wine is not an emulator.
And for a lot of the video games work, but maybe not the newest video games. I don't know. That's like pretty inside baseball.
Yeah. But you can almost always find a reasonable alternative to the program you've been running.
For a normal productivity app, they're
Right.
all out there.
Right. And if you can't, the likelihood that it runs under Wine is high, but again, not 100%.
Pretty much everything old.
Right.
And anything 5 years old or more is going to run great on Wine.
Right. And Wine is essentially a program that fools another program into thinking it's running under Windows.
Yeah.
It's the best way to put that.
Yeah.
So you say, Wine, run this program, and it runs it and tells it, oh yeah, you're in Windows.
Well, it's just like
absolutely.
the old Windows. Say like Windows versions of 3.1 or 5 or that. In 7, you could have Windows lie to the software.
Yes.
And say, no, run it as this type of machine. And
emulation mode.
Yeah, Windows would go ahead and run it as though it was an older version of Windows.
Sorry, it was compatibility mode. I think Windows 11 still has that.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, back to the phones. Our next caller is Rich again from Irondequoit, New York. What's up, Rich?
Hello. Good afternoon, guys. I have in front of me a cell phone question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have in front of me the S24 Ultra and a Galaxy. I know you probably know the phone I'm referring to. We'll have it paid off by the time I'm an old man in any event. When I first got it, I screwed it up. And so what I did was I think I'll restore it to like new condition, and I put aside my contacts and my photos. And now when I restore it, I want to bring back the photos and contacts. The contacts I've gotten back, I can't find the photos anywhere. I think I'm screwed, pardon the expression. But any ideas what I might be able to do to it or with it?
It depends on where you saved the photos. Where did you save them?
Okay, what does that mean? On the phone. More specifically, please, Nick.
Okay, if you saved them only on the phone, they're gone.
They're hosed.
If you saved them if you were using, for example, Google Photos, they're saved in the Google Cloud. If you were using the Samsung Photos app, they're saved in the Samsung Cloud. But you'd need to know which one you were using, sign into that one to find your pictures.
So I would enter Google Photos in the search bar?
No, you would have been running Google Photos on your old phone. On the phone. I'm calling it the old phone.
Yeah, how
you know
did
what
you
I mean.
access your phone, your pictures before?
How did I find them before? I don't recall because it's a new phone, and I don't think I did find them. I did find them on the new phone.
Right.
But I don't recall what I had to do to view them.
All right, so it's going to be one of two things. Samsung has their own set of applications, one of which is a photo app. It should be on your phone already because it's a Samsung phone and they add it. So if you run that application, you might see your pictures.
Okay, I'm sorry to be so elementary. How do I run Google Photos? Please be.
Hold on, we're not at Google Photos yet. We're talking about Samsung Photos.
Okay, how do I retrieve that website?
It's not.
It's an app on your phone.
It's an app on the phone, just like Calendar is or any of that stuff.
Okay, so I go to Samsung initially?
Yeah, and I believe they call it the Gallery app. So look on your Samsung phone.
If it's not on one of the screens, it might be, like if you swipe up usually on a phone, you'll see all the apps that are available, and you can hold one and drag it out to a screen. And what you would be looking for, if it's not on one of your screens, you would then go to where all the apps are stored, select that gallery, hold it down, and drag it out to a screen. And then you can position it on the screen wherever you would like.
And then tap it.
Yeah. And 10-to-1 odds, I don't know, I haven't done the Samsung one, but Google, because I signed in with my Google email, it knows who I am. Samsung, you might have to put in an email address or something like that.
But once you've signed into that app, if your pictures are there, you will see them all.
And maybe almost immediately.
Almost immediately. It does take a while for them to come down, but yes, pretty
indicate
quickly.
that it's loading or trying hard.
Right. Depends on how fast your cellular
services.
Right. So if they're not there, then you can add from the App Store Google Photos. And sign in with your Google account and see if they're there.
What was your old phone?
You mean the one that I dropped in the washing machine?
Well, was it a Samsung or something else?
It was, it was a Samsung, yes.
Okay.
But it's useless. I burned up the motherboard, they tell me.
No, well, the point is, if you were using a Samsung phone, the likelihood that you were using the Samsung Gallery app is high. So if you look at the Gallery app on your new phone, you may have to sign in with your Galaxy information.
Yeah.
But once you've signed in, you should, if the photos are there, you should see them in the Gallery app.
Okay. I have one more question regarding this. Is it true that I need to recall the same email address or the same email account that I used when I began all this stuff?
Yes, definitely.
I have to research my brain to see if I'm entering if they are there already. All the emails I may have used.
Right.
Used a week ago.
Right.
That is.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's true.
The most important factor.
Yep.
Okay, you've given me some pointers. I thank you, and I have contributed, and I am a member.
That's what we like to hear, Rich. Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, have a good day. Bye.
Thank you. You too. And Rich is pointing out that we are in a special drive at the moment. We're a little short in terms of meeting our goals for the year, which ends at the end of June. It's a fiscal year. So those of you who are listening, please reach
We could use your help.
reach deep into your hearts and shallowly into your pockets. Head on over to jazz901.org, hit the big red donate now button, and donate. And Rich at one point, Fred at one point talked about member number and putting in information. We try not to keep any of your information.
Right.
That way it
Right.
can't be stolen from us. So that's why you have to re-enter it every time. We don't want
Right. If
to
we don't
keep
keep that
track
data,
of your
we
information.
can never mistreat it.
Right. So yeah, that's actually a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
And yes, it's a little less convenient for you, but it's a lot safer for you.
Yes.
Yeah. The security is much simpler. Just
Yeah.
not keeping the data. It's a lot of the password, or not password. Sorry. The credit card.
Credit card
payment
information.
processing systems that you see in web pages right now. None of that is ever actually on yada yada company's website.
Right.
It's entirely by the payment processing company.
Right. We don't have any of your information.
Yeah.
And we don't want
Yeah.
any of your information.
Right.
So,
And we wouldn't be here asking for your money anyhow if this was just the three of us. I would be
Right.
asking for artisanal cheese or something.
right.
Like,
And if we don't the only point at which we have your information for more than a minute is when we're passing it on to the bank or whatever. And then it's done from us. Even when you do Jazz-O-Matic. Jazz-O-Matic is a thing where you pledge a certain amount of money a month, say $10 a month is the minimum, $120 for the year. We take $10 a month out of your account, but we are set up with a bank to do that. We don't keep
it's
the
all
money and we
secured
don't,
and encrypted.
rather we don't keep the information, and so we don't have it because we don't want to be responsible for
Yeah,
your
a lot
information.
of liability there.
Right, that's exactly right. So yeah.
I think we should just talk about artisanal cheese for the rest of the show. Now that I've brought it up, my
Sure,
my
what's your
interests have
favorite?
changed.
What's your favorite artisanal cheese?
The kind that I have in front of me, that's my favorite kind.
That's exactly. And cheese is cheese. I'm
Yeah,
happy. I don't even care if it came from the store. I like cheese.
Or a tap.
A tap. Or you made your own. That's
Right.
right. So yeah, I like cheese. I like cheese. One of my two cats likes cheese.
Oh, really?
One of them turns his nose up at it. Doesn't like cheese at all.
My dogs love it.
Yeah, but one of the cats doesn't like. Now, on the other hand, that cat likes butter. That you bring out the butter hunter comes out.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, you bring out the butter and he's right there. He's right there. And the other one couldn't care less about butter. They're so weird.
Oh, animals are. I mean, I've got, my dogs, and I've got one that loves fruit. Any kind of fruit. Matter of fact, bananas, which are good for him.
Yeah.
She'll sit there and be pawing at me because she sees me eating the banana and she wants part of it too. And it's like, no, you can't have it. I want it.
Yeah, it's my banana.
Yeah.
Get your own banana.
My dogs are not choosy.
Yeah, if it's
Too
food,
many
they'll eat it.
times we've
Yeah.
got them eating mulch.
Yeah, that's mine. You'd be amazed at the things they eat that I don't want them to. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so yeah, those are our dogs. We love them in spite of.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about recall.
You want to talk about recall? We got 1 minute left, so we can't. We'll talk about recall when we come
All
back.
right.
Yeah, less than a
It's
minute.
Windows 11, right? Windows 11 recall.
Windows 11 recall. We'll talk about that when we come back. You're going to love this story, I'll tell you that. But we're going to take a quick break right now. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with Dave Enright, Chris Horn, me, Nick Francesco, and you. It is 29 minutes after the hour. You are listening to the longest-running computer show in the known universe, Soundbites. We're going to take a quick break. This is the perfect time for you to go to jazz901.org, hit that big red Donate Now button, and make a pledge. We'll be back with a whole lot more Soundbites on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Hi, this is Rick Petrie. Please join me Tuesday nights from 9 to midnight for North Star Sounds on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm the summer version of Chris Horn.
Or some version of Chris Horn.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
34 minutes. What?
The sketchy version.
The sketchy version. At 34 minutes after the hour, we are Sound Bytes. We were going to talk about Recall when we came back. Let me write the news article and we can talk about it. For the past few weeks, the tech world has been discussing a controversial new Windows feature called Recall. This feature, which is not out yet, but has been previewed by the press and select researchers, takes a snapshot of your Windows system every few seconds. These screenshots can then be searched using AI, so you can copy text, download images, or simply look at what you were doing at a specific time so you can recreate that particular situation. Now, due to public backlash to what appears to be an invasive and insecure product, Microsoft has announced a response to this controversy. In a lengthy blog post, the company lays out 3 core changes it's making to Recall. First, the setup experience of Copilot Plus PCs will include a new step that explicitly explains Recall and gives a user a simple way to opt out if desired. This immediately raises my hackles because it should be opt-in, but okay. Second, to use Recall, you must set up Windows Hello, the Windows biometric security system. Additionally, proof of presence will be required to access Recall. In other words, you will need to have your face or fingerprint, depending on the system, scanned to open Recall and view your screenshots.
Because then you're accountable for your data.
Right. Thus preventing someone from easily accessing them, even another user on the same computer. And third, the cache of images, as well as the search index database, which is essentially just text, will be encrypted. Furthermore, the images will only be decrypted when requested, so the user must authenticate with Windows Hello before any screenshots will be even readable by the system. These 3 changes will roll out now to Copilot Plus PCs, so they should be ready and waiting when the public first experiences Recall on June 18th, a mere 10 days from now. In addition to these new changes to Recall, Microsoft also emphasizes existing features of the system that will help keep it private and secure. This includes snapshot and text data only being stored locally, a persistent system tray notification that Recall is taking snapshots, and the fact that DRM services and in-private browsing sessions, which is Microsoft Edge's version of Chrome's incognito mode, will block Recall snapshots. Additionally, users can always filter, pause, or delete when Recall saves at any time. While Microsoft should be commended for hearing the public outcry, I don't know how they would have missed it, related to Recall and making changes to better reflect what people want, it doesn't change the fact that Recall is a solution looking for a problem. There aren't many Windows users out there who want screenshots of their system saved every 5 seconds. It just isn't a thing people are looking for. Well, I don't know what the point of this was. Instead, what people actually want is a better way to search Windows. Even with an incredibly powerful CPU, a search in File Explorer for a specific document or file can take upwards of 10 minutes. Even then, you can't readily search within documents to find what you're looking for, so your search results may or may not include documents with your search term if it isn't included in the file itself. What Microsoft should focus on is making traditional search in Windows faster and more effective. That would be a much bigger deal to Windows users than whatever Recall is. Regardless, it's good to see Microsoft making it easier to opt out of Recall, as we expect that's what most people will end up doing, and that's our recommendation. Opt out of Recall when you first set it up and just move on. So, how do you feel about Recall? Give us a recall. 585-966-JAZZ. It's 966-5299. Toll free 800-790-0415.
Well, I was wondering if they're going to use that term, hello. When you clicked on it, if it would be like the Three Stooges bit. Hello.
Yeah.
I thought you.
So Recall,
the minute you said that.
So Recall is basically everything you do on your computer is recorded. Does that sound like something you want?
I think kind of doing it now anyway.
I do not. I do not need a computer now. If you're in
streaming, sure.
Right. But it records everything and keeps it forever. Mm-hmm. So when you log into your bank, that information is kept forever. When you log into your retirement account, that information is kept forever. That means that it's real easy to find the database that contains all of those private data, and now the hackers have the number one target. This is the dumbest thing I have ever heard.
You know, that's the thing. Once you put what folks don't realize, once things go out onto the internet, within seconds, there's no way of stopping it or ever retrieving all of it. Somewhere it's going to be leaked out that you're not going to be able to get it back from, and then from there it can go spreading out even more and more and more. That, you know, that's why we've preached for a long time, folks. You know, you got to be careful on where you go, what you save, and what you do on the internet. And as Nick would always say, "Oh, I don't have anything important. I'm not worried about it." You've got your identity.
Yeah.
Once they get a hold of that, they could have a field day from here to kingdom come.
Yeah.
I think that, like, the data, the pictures, it's taking those screenshots have got to stay local, because otherwise Microsoft's responsibility for HIPAA. Just imagine if you're logging into.
Well, that's just it.
Do
your
anything,
doctor. Well, everything nowadays, at least here in Rochester, is on my chart. And on my chart, you can sit there and see all your X-rays and, you know, doctor findings and conversations in between you and your doctor. And
right. I think it's important to say that there are more serious laws to be broken than just HIPAA.
Well, the GDPR.
So they can't just exfiltrate. That would be the right term, right? They can't just pull all those screenshots into the cloud and not.
Well, they say
be
they're
in
going to be
big
kept
trouble.
on your computer, but all that really means is that as a hacker, I just have to know what that database is.
Yeah, right. Like, and
that's all. And now
my computer knows how to decrypt those. Just because they're encrypted at rest doesn't mean that Windows can't easily, you know, flip through all those pictures and index them for searching, because they're trying to add some kind of value there, saying like, oh, well, wasn't I working on that document 2 weeks ago? What did I call that? Like, they're trying to solve that kind of problem. Like, oh,
how many people have that kind of problem?
I don't know. Enough where Microsoft has built this as a solution.
But the real problem is, like I said in the news article, the problem is that search is so slow.
Search is very expensive. Like,
I get that.
It's a hard problem.
It is a very hard problem to solve, and I get that. But that's really a matter of patience.
Which people don't have anymore.
But the reality is that if I have the ability to search all my documents, then I don't need recall. I'm not sure what recall gives me beyond searchability. And it's not
it would
the
be
best
stuff that you were working on that wasn't in a document. Like, I don't know what they're trying to solve.
Right.
Yeah.
I can imagine all the ways in which they are trying to get you to move every bit of data you've had into Microsoft's cloud so that they can throw AI horsepower at it and build a really compelling search problem-solving
it sounds like
interface.
they've got an issue and they're trying to find a problem.
Well, that's it. They've got it. There is a solution in search of a problem. Some executive at Microsoft said, "I'm having trouble finding this," and somebody else said, "We'll write a program that finds everything on your computer every minute."
Yeah.
My take on AI as it applies to the stock market or any business today is that if you're coming out with a new feature, a new something, and it is not pinned around AI, then the market is going to say, well, they're not doing AI right.
Yep. AI is the new hotness.
That's what the financial world wants to see is all things AI all the time.
You even see the commercials right now, how AI is the new gold.
Right.
Sure.
You know? It's like, yeah.
So I watched a thing from NVIDIA talking about how they built the hardware for GPT-4o, hardware infrastructure that they released in November of last year.
Yep.
And I think they said it was 30,000. I could get the right number. It was tens of thousands of NVIDIA H100s, which as a consumer, if you tried to buy, is upwards of $30,000 for
One of them.
One.
Yep.
Because it's not just a card, right? Like it's a whole
thing.
Chassis. It's a whole thing. And I could be misstating all of those numbers or how you actually deploy H100. I'm not in the market for one unless they're free. And I would probably rather have artisanal cheese just to bring it back to relevant stuff.
We do have donuts, but that's as close as you're going to get today. All right, back to the phones. Our next caller is Kevin from Rochester, New York. What's up, Kevin?
Good afternoon, guys.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. Regarding this recall, it chilled my blood when I heard about this thing.
Yeah.
And how on earth do they expect anyone to trust that when you opt out of it, it's not doing that in the background? It's going to be built into Windows 11 already, as far as I know, right?
Bingo.
Well,
that's a good question, Kevin. That's a very good question.
This is functionality that at a corporate level, companies.
Was a good idea?
No, it's a terrible idea for the average user.
Yeah. But somebody at Microsoft thinks it's a great idea, and they don't realize the mess that they could get into that, like anything else, if, this data gets out into the wild, that they're going to have more problems than they can shake a stick at.
Well, more importantly, this is, I think, what Chris was about to get at. At some point, some company is going to say, hey, Microsoft, you're saving all of these data. They're on my computers. I want to see that. I want to see what my employees are up to.
There are companies that are doing this on their own.
Yep.
Maybe with Microsoft's help right now.
Yep. If I'm running a company and I've got a couple of hundred employees, how productive are they? I need to see what they're doing.
And they have a legitimate right to do that.
It's a work computer.
Yep.
It's like saying.
Sure, I've heard of.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've heard of that software. If you have a work laptop, it monitors your computer. And what you're typing and jiggle. That's fine, but on your home computer, people listen.
Well, again, you forget, Kevin.
Adult videos.
It's not your computer.
Oh, right. Well, I have a Linux. I stopped using Windows years ago, so.
Right.
Smart man.
Yeah, if you have Windows on your machine, it's not your computer. It's Microsoft's computer. You're just allowed to use it.
I can't believe it. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it
is.
This
alone, I think, is going to go right back to what we were talking about at the beginning. It's going to drive more people to Linux, more people to Macs, more people to Chromebooks, more people to OS Flex.
Chromebooks especially, because they are out of the three, I would say they are the top, easiest for even the simplest person to still do what they're doing, probably basically with even a high-end machine, because like we've said, they go in there, search the web, do their emails, and maybe write a couple letters.
Yeah, but it depends on how paranoid you are.
Yeah,
right? Because that's a Microsoft, that's a Google product. You have a choice of Google, Microsoft, Apple, or the free stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Analysis of your data is what Google is selling, right? Whether it's your searching or whatever.
That's going to help hackers too, because if there's going to be a 0 day out there where they're just going to have to opt you back in, and you don't know about it.
That's exactly right, Kevin.
Bingo.
That's exactly right. If I've got one file or one directory on my computer, that has everything I've done, that's the one a hacker's going to go after.
Right, and then now it's going to be built right in.
Yep. And many people are not going to opt out because they don't know what that means.
And they don't know, because they don't understand it. It's like, no, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have anything important.
Right.
I'll be very interested to see if the backlash on this, which has been like 100% bad.
Oh, yeah.
If it actually changes anything that Microsoft does, or if there's just a spin cycle on it and they go forward.
Yeah, the way they spin it,
They'll spin it because it's a differentiator.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody said good or bad differentiator, just
Maybe.
differentiator.
Yeah.
What makes us different from those crappy old Macs and that lousy Linux and that terrible Chromebook? We have the ability to search your machine instantly.
Yep.
Woohoo!
Great.
Okay.
Well, my other kind of related thing I was going to ask you about was, is there going to ever in the future, I know there's Android phones have these. There's other Android OSs that are open source. You think that'll ever be robust like Linux is now, where you can just totally get out of the Google Android and have a real robust Android OS out there that works with everything?
I want that to be the case, but I think it's not likely because every hardware manufacturer is going to try very hard to make it so that any open source cell phone technology, whatever, just doesn't work.
Right, they want control.
They want their piece of the pie.
Yeah.
The reality is the big dog has to be the last one to mark the tree. And
Sure. I'm sure they're getting a cut of money from Google.
Exactly. When, for example, here's the way Apple works. There's an Apple phone. We made it. We're putting the operating system on. We're done. On Google, there is, it's a Pixel phone. We made it. We're putting the operating system on. We're done. It's a Samsung phone. We've made the operating system. Now Samsung gets a hold of it. They muck about with it for a bit. Then they put it on your phone. So, and that's true of every other manufacturer. So it's
like a car dealership putting in your sunroof.
Right. So in the Apple world, there is only a pure experience with the phone. In the Google world, there is the Pixel phone, which is a pure experience. Everybody else adulterates it.
You get whatever they decide they want on your phone.
And so if you had an open source, Android is in fact an open source operating system. There are companies that make open source versions of Android that you can root your phone and put on yourself. It's
Which
not
I've been
easy.
looking into.
Right. It's not easy and it may not work.
I think it's pretty easy for those to break.
Yeah.
If you try it, please let us know how it turns out.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it. I've got a couple old phones, and I figured I'd unload the bootlocker, root them, and try these.
Give it a shot. Nothing to lose on old hardware.
Yeah, if it's an old phone, what the heck?
Says it's right, and everything I see online just says you can't use Google Maps, you can't use this, and all these open source versions of those are just really janky.
Yeah, there's basically like a chain of trust that you get from the hardware and running the signed like base level operating system pieces, like the kernel, that Google Maps, everything else is going to depend on. It's the same reason you can't normally just virtualize a Mac, because you don't have that chain of trust from the hardware.
Right.
Right. Which I get it, I guess.
Right, like there's security features, levels of security you get out of that from that happening, but as a consumer, it really handcuffs you.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, what was it? The Pine phone?
Yes.
Yeah, the Pine phone has their own OS. Pine 64 is the company.
That's open source hardware, right?
That's open source hardware, but now the company that makes it is based in Hong Kong, so whatever. But
your mileage may vary.
Right.
I think there's a couple of laptop vendors out there too that are trying to do like a composable, replaceable, open sourcey kind of hardware approach to things. It's just
they make a phone and they make an operating system based on Linux, so you can get that. But again, as Kevin said, it's not as robust and full featured. Really, is the word I'm looking for. As the other one.
All right. Well. Okay. Just wanted to vent, guys.
No,
we're with you.
You brought up a good problem. That we got solutions for other stuff, and the phone system, is taking over most of it. I mean, you see, like we've said before, you see folks constantly staring down at their phone. They've got this captured audience now that's even more popular than desktop computers.
Right.
And how many phones people have actual, if they got a cell phone, they usually don't have a phone at home anymore because it's there in their pocket and they're doing everything off of it, from banking to internet to watching videos and doing their whole life. So yeah, it's the way of the future, But how are they going to handle it? It's one hot potato. I don't think nobody's totally figured out yet.
Yep.
Yeah, it was nice to get away from Windows, and use Linux on my desktop. I'm just hoping in the future someday you can do the same thing with your phone.
It's not impossible, but it isn't there quite yet.
Yeah. No, it's... well, look at how far phones have come just since in the past 10 years. I mean, we had the old flip phones. And now you get these phones that, they're good size. They've got, good screens on them. The clarity is unbelievable. And the features that you can do on it. Again, the pictures. They take better pictures than some of my other cameras that I used to have, the old Brownie cameras and all that from Kodak.
Yeah.
They take far superior movie clips and all that other stuff that you could instantly throw up into the internet and share with your friends.
I just looked it up. So ChatGPT 4.0 is 30,000 high-end H100s, which for a consumer is $30,000. That is, if you were trying to make that yourself, it is $900 million. Just in
that's not even a building.
The hardware. Right. They're just phoning it in.
Pocket lint.
All right, well, I got to go, guys.
All right, thanks.
Thanks for calling.
But yeah, we're in, it changes every day, but right now what we see in computers with things like Linux have been building for 40, 50 years now. And phones aren't nearly that old, so it's going to take a while for that ecosystem to build to that point. And it really takes, as we were saying, it takes someone who isn't motivated by money. Right? The Linux users created an operating system because they wanted one, not because they were going to make money out of it. Mm-hmm. We say most Linux programs are created by somebody who's scratching their own itch. I want a program that does this. I write it. Maybe there's somebody else who wants it. I'll put it out there.
Yeah. Might even improve on it to help you out.
Right, and that's how
community works.
Open source works. And we haven't had that yet to a high degree in the phone world or the tablet world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a tablet. It's an e-ink tablet, and it runs Android. It's a full Android tablet. It's great, but there's no way I can root it. At this point, there's nothing to root it with that really works to do everything I want to do. Are there things
nothing remotely equivalent?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, there are things you can root it with, but they don't do a lot, and they don't do it necessarily very well.
Right. If you want to accomplish nothing,
right. Again, if you're playing,
yeah.
He was talking about, I've got an old phone, I might root my old phone. Great.
It all starts at that point.
Great play. But we're not yet at the point where it becomes, like Linux, a substitute for a real, fully viable substitute for your desktop. So, I get that. All right. Look at that. We're done. We're done for another week. First, I want to thank Dave Enright for staying awake through the entire 2 hours. I'm very shocked. I want to thank Chris Horn, or who we think might be Chris Horn.
I want to complain about the lack of cheese.
We didn't bring him cheese, but we did. He brought laptops. He set up StreamYard. He actually showed up. God bless him. We dragged him in off the streets at the last moment. He just happened to be walking by. We got the hook out and we grabbed him in to be here, and we really want to thank him for that. I'm Nick Francesco. I want to thank everybody who donated during this show. God bless you. We really need your help. At jazz901.org, the big red donate now button. We will see you in 166 hours. Be good to one another, will you?